Ladies and gentlemen, participants, welcome to our session on the St. Gallen Symposium Global Essay Competition Award. Now, for half a century, the symposium has brought together some of the world's brightest minds to discuss issues that are at the top of the global agenda. And in addition to that, those issues have been the subject of a writing competition that I'm very honored to be a part of as a judge. Over the years, I've read essays that have come in from young and incredibly talented, smart people across the world, and I've never failed to be blown away by the talent that's out there. It also means it's extremely hard to judge because, of course, the essays are so good, and it is necessary, though, for the sake of a competition, to find those that maybe shine a little bit above the others. As in past years, each of the hundreds of essays submitted could have been a winner, and this year's very relevant subject on the matter of trust produced some fascinating views on what is right and what is wrong in societies across the world, and perhaps more importantly, what needs to be done to rebuild that trust. Keep in mind that the authors of the essays live in societies that may be very different from what you and I experience, and as a result, they may face very different challenges. This also makes for interesting discussion because it raises a number of questions on why they chose their particular angles on the topic and what specific influences have affected their lives. But let's start by welcoming in our keynote speaker first to share thoughts on the subject of this year's essays, a matter of trust. How can trust be repaired when it's lost? Our speaker has a remarkable story, having started on his entrepreneurial path as a teenager, a path that's led him to become the world's second youngest billionaire through his company, the online hotel and accommodation portal, Or Your Rooms. Please, a warm welcome, Ritesh Agarwal. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Riz. That's very generous introduction from you. And I have had the good opportunity to read through some of the essays, and I can tell you this, that I don't envy your job. It's clearly quite challenging to read some fascinating views and thought-provoking essays from some exceptional, young people around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor for me. Before I began this session, I did want to share my solidarity and, of course, my thoughts for people back home here in India who are affected by the COVID virus, as you may be hearing. That is also, one of the reasons why I was not able to make it out there in person. And I hope at some point of time I get to be there in person and meet some of you who are exceptionally talented, as was being discussed earlier. My name is Ritesh Agarwal. I'm the founder and CEO of OYO. Our main business is to go out and serve small hotels and homes, provide them a software, and be able to help them increase their revenue. Globally, we serve over 100,000 of them. And I started this company when I was 19 years old and have been building this for the last 6.5 years to 7 years now, and aspire to keep building this to make sure that we can make small hotels and homes as successful as the very high quality upmarket hotels as well. As we are here today to celebrate creativity and innovation, I'd like to spend some time talking about two topics that I'm very excited about today. One is just the perspective of excellence in thought and why that's so crucial. I know a lot of you are very good in being able to share a perspective in that. And I believe that the only way I can add value is probably, instead of sharing a perspective, I'd probably just share life stories of myself. That is, how has my life been influenced by a perspective of excellence in thought? And the second thing that I would probably like to talk a little bit about is a perspective about trust. Trust has played a very crucial role in my own experiences, and I'll tell you some anecdotal stories why trust is actually the number one value principle in our company, and how the three I've taken three essays as case in point, and how I've seen those sort of be similar to the experiences that I have had. I hope you will enjoy listening to some of this. Let me begin with excellence of thought. I have always been of this believer that excellence of thought and action are equally important. But if we just take an excellence of thought as a critical perspective, it allows a few important perspectives. The first, and something that I have found the most fascinating, excellence of thought opens up an opportunity to engage with like minded people and like minded communities. A great example of that is where we are at the St. Gallen's, but there are others, and there is one of those that I believe has been the single biggest enabler of what I have been able to at least do in the last few years and have the opportunity to do in the many years ahead of myself. The second perspective is it allows you to get opportunities to make a difference, to attempt opportunities that you may not have gotten earlier, learn and engage with failures, and last but not the least, to make a difference. Let me try and talk about some real world stories in each one of them. Let me begin with the power of communities, about how does excellence of thought allow you to engage with communities that you may not have gotten access to earlier. So I grew up in a small town in the eastern half of India, in a town where 80% of the people earned below a couple of $100 in a year. We call them under below poverty line in our country. So it was very rare for somebody like me to get the size of opportunities that I have received. My life changed with the Thiel Fellowship. Peter Thiel, who's the founder of PayPal, early investor in Facebook, he gives $100,000 to 20 people under the age of 20. Acceptance rates are lower than Ivy Leagues, but there is a condition that you have to stop out of university. Before me, there were no other, Asian residents who had become Thiel Fellows. So, frankly, there was very little reason for me to apply. I got to know about the fellowship from a now famous movie called The Social Network. And it inspired me to say that, gosh, I should apply for this program. Once I went in and searched more, I found out that there were no other Asian residents. But I still applied just because the questions that it began with an essay. I had to write an essay finally to begin with, and then there were a few more interviews. The first essay, the whole reason I wrote that was because it led me to thought-provoking questions. Let me give you an example of it that young people are never asked. One of the questions I was asked, what is your view that is contrarian, that everybody else believes is untrue, but you believe is true? I never got asked a question like that. It was fascinating to my younger self to say that somebody would be interested to listen to an answer to a question like that from me. That eventually led me to, of course, I became a fellow and then got connected to lots of other entrepreneurs who were able to make substantial difference and learn from them. One example of that is, Dylan. Dylan set up Figma Design, which is now a very popular company around the world, or Luminar, which is now a publicly listed company, I think worth $9 or $10 billion. Or, of course, get inspired by people like Vitalik, who set up Ethereum, which is a cryptocurrency growing quite significantly. Of course, I don't claim to understand crypto very well, but I'm sure he does. So this is an example of how I genuinely believe that even though I never went to university, my real university was essentially getting access to this community because I could relate with them, engage with them, learn from them, and of course, do more. The other example of something similar is the access to a lot of other opportunities. So once I did become a TL fellow, it opened the doors for me to meet a lot of very interesting people. An example of that is the first investors in OYO. The first investors in OYO were Lightspeed Venture Partners, the earliest colleagues I received. A lot of them got access to me because they found the excellence of thought perspective that at least I wanted to lay out was interesting for them to try and listen to, or at least to have a conversation to find opportunities to collaborate. Learning from failures, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in the trust section. Life, if there is anybody who tells you that success came with a single line, I think you should absolutely not believe in them, or you should tell them that they should watch out because the bad days are coming. The reason I say this is because I have always learned that every overnight success is at least a 10-year-old story. There is no overnight success that is really an overnight success. In that context, you need ability and support to deal with failures. The communities that excellence of thought gives access for you to, those communities help you deal with failures. An example of that is I was just talking to you about Luminar. The founder of Luminar, when I met him first, he's now 24-year-old, and he runs a company that is $9 or $10 billion worth. Forbes recently ranked the founder as the youngest billionaire in the world. So it's a fantastic story. For him, when he was 17 years old, his first concept was to build wireless electricity, and he failed multiple times in the various ideas he pursued. But every time he spoke to people around him in the community of the Thiel Fellowship, everybody said, "This is just a stepping stone. You learned a bunch of things. Gosh, you could now go and pursue something bigger." And today, of course, he's built a fantastic lidar company, which is creating a huge difference. And last but not the least, the most rewarding part is the ability to make a difference. To be able to say that today, even in the year of the COVID, billions of dollars will get into the bank accounts of hundreds of thousands of small businesses because of the work you do. And for me, that's the most thankful part. And I believe that for a lot of you listening here, one of the critical goals of life is to be able to make a difference. And excellence of thought and the communities it exposes you allows you to make the difference in conclusion. I felt it will be a good idea for me to give you some context on trust and its impact in my life. Let me actually start again with an anecdotal perspective. I had the honor to have dinner with Mark Benioff, who is the CEO and founder of Salesforce. It was planned to be an hour or hour and a half dinner. We went on for a few hours. It's probably the longest dinner I have gone into, probably Mark as well, but I don't know about him, but at least for me. And we spent 70% of our time talking about trust, essentially saying why trust is the number one value in their company as well as in ours, and how that has a real business, commercial, and sustainable impact in companies around the world. The reason I wanted to call this out is to say that I'm not saying this to you because it's a critical context for your essay. This is genuinely something that is talked and actively debated. And of course, we are still a young company, but even by leaders like Mark and other successful business operators around the world. The reason why I believe that trust forms such a crucial perspective is fairly simple. Over time, companies are frankly just a combination of people and ecosystem around themselves. It's employees, it's merchants, it's customers, and so on. The deeper you can forge the layers of trust, the higher your ability to be able to bring everybody together for a single mission. And if you see the most successful companies, they're able to build the deepest communities and the deepest forms of trust around themselves. Let me try and share some very interesting perspectives of how trust makes even bigger difference. Again, before I go to other life examples, let me share another important third party story. I was once having dinner with Sonsan. Sonsan is the founder and CEO of SoftBank. And one of the biggest successes has been getting exclusive contract of distributing Apple phones in Japan. So he was telling how he got that contract. So he went to see Steve Jobs, who had just set up the first iPhone. And Steve Jobs showed him the first iPhone, saying, "This is the product and I intend to distribute it." So Sonsan looks at it and says, "Is this just one phone? Why don't you have, like Nokia has, a 1100, 3310, 6600? Why don't you have separate models?" And Steve Jobs says, "I could actually build just one good thing, and I'd rather build one good product than many others. So I felt I'd just build one of this, and I have no intentions of building more, even if it means bad for business." Sonsan at that point of time said, "I trust you, Steve. I don't think about products the way you do, but I trust you. So I will be your exclusive partner." And Steve Jobs said, "Sure. I can't find of a better partner than you to be able to create this business in Japan." Over time, Apple is by far the market leader in mobile phones in Japan, got there earliest, great for Apple, but even better for SoftBank because they truly were able to turn around the telecom company just on the back of this exclusive relationship. I wanted to share an example of how real business use cases can get created with trust on both sides. And for me personally, the reason why it makes a huge difference is because when I was starting our company, a lot of people we used to recruit, people used to be scared to give them access to confidential data. People used to say, let them earn our trust, let them get access, let them get the ability to deliver the results. I have believed that giving trust is more important than waiting for somebody to earn your trust. What it basically means is, unless you become the bigger person with a bigger heart, saying that I trust you and I'm going to give you trust for you to get access to all the information and abilities within the company, until then, the opposite person will never get the access or the ability to earn your trust. So I know I'm running out of time, so I will take the last 30 to 40 seconds to just finish with, I had thoughts from all the three important stories, but I'll try and take one of them. I found, of course, all three of the essays that has been adjudged, including the collaborative Belt and Road Initiative, the rebuilding trust with algorithm-driven public services, and of course, the trans communication platform. But just specifically on the trans communication platform, we've had a unique experience of our own, where a two-way communication in that essay was suggested as a very crucial perspective of building trust. And I have learned that in our company as well, we had issues at some point of time with our merchants for some of our business policies. We launched a project called Sambandh. Sambandh in Hindi means a relationship, where we would go in and we had the equivalent word for it around the world, where we would go to each merchant who said they were unhappy even because of 10% of a reason, and listen to every one of them. I can tell you that, of course, we made amends and built deeper relationships with them. But 80% of the problem solution was just listening to merchants and saying that we are here to work together. And I'm happy to share that for the last 1 year, every weekend, I run a town hall with our hotel owners and homeowners. It's like a fish market. We're all going at each other, but we all operate with a sense of community. And that's why we trust each other a lot more than earlier. So, with that ability of rebuilding trust from the learnings that I had from the essays, I want to thank all of you for writing all you did and your excellence of thought. I certainly have taken a lot of learning, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to me. Thank you so much.
Ritesh, thank you very much. And of course, you're in our thoughts, and the people of India in our thoughts as they go through this particularly troubled time. Thank you for those words of wisdom. And I'm sure they are inspirational. We've been very lucky with the fantastic level of students and competitors in the essay competition. So it was great to have you come on board and spend that precious time that you have with us on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Riz.
Well, now let's welcome in our three finalists, who I have to say happen to represent the remarkable diversity of the world with their individual backgrounds. Keep in mind, the judging is done blindly, with no awareness of the author's gender, ethnicity, or personal history. So it's quite remarkable that we do manage to get this mix, and I think it's a reflection of how diverse the competition is. I'm just going to give you them by name. Firstly, Karl Michael Braun is German. He's coming from Germany. Jans Irving Chiang is half Filipino, half Taiwanese. And Joan Nyangena is Kenyan-born but works in Canada. I'm going to ask you each just a brief minute to tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing right now. Maybe I could start, Michael, with you.
Yes, of course.
Please, yeah, give us just a little background on yourself and what you're doing now.
Yeah, hello to the audience. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, I'm currently an assistant teacher at a boarding school, a multinational boarding school in Germany. This was a monastery. Then Napoleon turned it into a castle, and now it's a school for students, which was founded by the last chancellor of the German Empire and a famous pedagogue called Kotan. And what we try here is to educate students to responsibility. So this is quite an ambitious principle. But what I do here is different things. I supervise and look after students, especially teenagers, which is often a very tough thing, in both the classroom and the boarding wing. I give private tutoring to my students in Latin, and I lead a working group where we discuss the political philosophy of Plato and Karl Popper. That is maybe most important to me here.
All right, thank you. Well, we'll get onto the essay topics in a moment, but let me just continue with the brief introduction. And Jans, perhaps you can go next and tell us a little bit about what you're doing and your background.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jans. I'm very happy to be here. I currently work at Trivium China, where we analyze Chinese government policies, economic policies, and politics to help advise multinational companies with a presence in China. I previously graduated from Peking University with a master's degree in international relations.
And thanks very much, Jans. And Joan, a little bit about you too.
Of course, thank you for that warm welcome. Hello to everyone on the audience. My name is Joan, as you've heard. I have done my master's in real estate and infrastructure from the Schulich School of Business here in Canada. And currently, I am working at the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce here in Canada as well. And basically, what I do, we extend financing loans to real estate companies through from the construction lending up till through to term lending, as well as doing a bit of credit analysis and portfolio management.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joan. So let's get to you again in alphabetical order and just ask about your topic, the essays. They were all excellent, by the way. Let's get starting with you, Michael, first. Just tell us a little bit about the topic and what made you want to take that particular subject.
Yeah, it's a very simple topic. It's listening. So that we have to come together by active listening, and I've developed a platform, an online platform for it that tries to tackle the online things that are happening out there, that we don't talk to many people anymore, so that only specific group is talking among each other, and that I try to solve. Yeah.
And what in particular made you pick this subject, though, in terms of how you structured it? Because I must say, as a journalist, it's fascinating for me. Interviewing and communication has been a part of my life for so long. It was fascinating to read how you wanted those three parties to interact, to build that trust.
Yeah, as a student, I studied Latin history and ancient Greek, and often felt that I'm only speaking to a small community. And I was inspired by the French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu. Maybe he talks of these milieus, that we are only talking in these specific structures of society. And going back to Luhmann, he has this big system theory. He says these systems, they operate in codes, and only these systems communicate with each other. And I thought I want to speak to more people, and so this was so people whose background are usually more foreign to me, and so I had this personal sometimes anger that I'm a bit narrow in my mind, and I tried to seek other people, and I found it fascinating to think about it in a more in a bigger scale, and online I think today is very, very important. It doesn't substitute the offline thing, but online is really important. You have to pay
I must say, I would love to see this applied. And as I say, it would make a big difference if people in my industry had a different approach to interviewing as well and communicating as well. Thank you for that, Michael. Jans, if I could bring you in and just tell me a little bit about your subject, what prompted your particular angle on this matter of trust?
Yeah, thank you. So my essay is about rebuilding trust in algorithm-driven public services. And it stems from a personal fascination in the application of advanced technologies, specifically algorithms, in improving how we distribute public resources and how we inform decisions that factor into decision-making processes by public institutions. And it's about, beyond providing efficiency gains, how can we utilize these technologies to create a more equitable and a more fair society?
It's interesting because, of course, algorithms are driving so much debate at the moment on whether they are actually balanced or not, and they are a double-edged sword there as well. What in terms of the creating that authenticity in making sure algorithms are on a fair basis, how do you think that? How easy would it be to build that trust, in your opinion, after you did your research?
Well, I think that it's very difficult, to say the least, but it is a worthwhile endeavor. And so in my essay, I boil it down to basically two principles. And that's important because our solutions may vary, But I believe that as long as we follow the principles of transparency and inclusivity, we can, in fact, utilize these algorithms for a fairer society.
Jans, I'm sure this subject is not going to go away. As I say, the debate is heating up. Thank you for that as well. Another excellent essay. Joan, let me bring you in here and talk about yours. That's a particularly interesting one too.
Exactly. So my fascination with this topic is personal as well. Like you'd mentioned before, I was born in Kenya and I grew up for the first half of my life so far in Kenya. And being able to go back more recently and seeing the immense transformation in the country has been great, which really speaks to the benefits and the opportunities that the Belt and Road Initiative provides. But as well, I've had a lot of communication and debates with a lot of my peers. I live in Toronto and it is a cultural melting pot. So I meet with people from different parts of the world. A lot of them are part of they're from countries that are um, members of the BRI project. And so there's a lot of interesting perspective on the role of China as it's rising in power, as it's extending its influence, especially through this initiative. And so I'm really excited to have this platform to be able to share my ideas and to present some approaches that would help to rebuild trust in this initiative ultimately.
Joan, that was very interesting too, because again, it's a topic in the news quite regularly as China's reach extends across the world. What sort of feedback have you had from people, negative and positive, in your approach?
I think it's a very great initiative, so to speak. It's a mega infrastructure project like never before because China is partnering with so many countries across the board. I think we stand at 183 countries and counting, so that's a massive impact. And so the opportunities that it presents are immense. I think it offers to revitalize trade, to increase connectivity, as well as bridge the global infrastructure gap. And so these benefits are undeniable. But at the same time, there's a lot of challenges. And I think key to that is the predatory lending practices that China is offering. There's a lot of critique on that, especially from the Western world specifically, as well as other countries who are not members of the BRI. And then there's also issues of debt sustainability, and as well as a lack of transparency and accountability overall. So some have claimed that this is, an approach to neocolonialism, so to speak. So there's very interesting perspectives on the project as a whole.
Well, again, a superb subject. All three of you have done really excellent topics. And I have to say, I was fascinated as a journalist to see this kind of standard of analysis of these three different issues, all relating to the same topic of trust and how that matters. So well done, all of you. At this stage, I'm going to bring in our jury president, the president of the award jury, so he can talk a little bit about this and give you some sort of outcome. He's actually also a professor of strategic management and innovation at ETH Zurich. And it's Professor Georg von Kroll. Georg, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Riz, and it's great to see all of you. I truly enjoy this session. You know, it's one of the top highlights of the year for me, and I just sort of enjoy reading all of the fantastic thoughts that you have brought in. My congratulations go out to the three winners. This is just an outstanding achievement that you have done. And let me say something about the essay competition and give you some details on the process. First of all, as always, this was very competitive this year. We received 450 essays. The contributors represented 74 nationalities. The really fantastic news this year is that more than 50% of the top 100 essays were authored by female contributors, which really makes a first in the essay competition's history. Just a couple of words on the process so that you understand sort of the rigor which is involved in selecting these essays. Upon submission of the essays, they are sent out to the academic jury, which is headed by Professor Heike Brock at the University of St. Gallen. The academic jury consists of 40 PhD students from ETH Zurich and the University of St. Gallen. They select the top 10 essays to be passed on to the main jury, and they do that, as Riz pointed out, with blind review. So they don't know anything about the author's background, the universities, and so on. So all of that is hidden from the reviewers. The essays, the 10 top essays, are being passed on to the main jury, the award jury, and we carefully read and engage with all of these essays. We look at the quality of the argument. We look at, how the arguments are grounded in facts and literature and so on. We look at the understanding of the problem, the practicality of the solutions, and so on. After very often heated and intense debate, we select the top 3 essays and we rank the winners, basically. So all of this shows you the rigor behind the selection of these 3 essays. And again, it just underscores the fantastic achievements that you have now to be very, very proud of. The last thing for me is to extend my thank you to all the people who make this essay competition come alive. First of all the people around the world who submitted their wonderful essays to this competition. It's just been such a pleasure to read all of your fantastic thoughts and hear all the voices from around the planet. My thanks also go out to the academic jury and the main jury, whose long-term effort and commitment to the symposium is vital, of vital importance to the essay competition. And finally also, my thanks go out to Yannick Miller and the team here at the symposium for outstanding support in making such a complex process of selection happen with all the sort of all the details being managed in an impeccable fashion. So my thanks go out to all of you, and particularly also these winners for taking the time to engage with such important subjects. Thank you.
And Professor, I've got to say, as one of the award jury members, it's difficult every year, isn't it? I've been doing this for a few years. It's so difficult choosing from the whole selection and then getting to the final 3. And I always say that everyone's essentially a winner, really, aren't they?
Absolutely. Everyone's a winner. And, selecting the top 3 is a really, really hard process. And you can also see you can sort of take the temperature of the committee, of the jury, by the length of the discussions, the intensity of the discussions, the various viewpoints, and so on. I would say the more diverse viewpoints we have on the essays, the better quality the essays really are, because they sort of stir differences of opinion, differences of perspectives, and so on. So it's a tough task, but it's one that we really cherish, all of us in the main jury.
And I have to say, I know it's sad that we aren't all together physically. That, of course, is necessary because of the pandemic. Hopefully, we will get back to normal. Yes. But I can tell even through the screen that our 3 finalists are now tense. So perhaps, Professor, I could leave it to you to just give us the outcome and relieve their tension a little bit.
Yes, the third prize goes to. And this is very, very difficult. But the third prize goes to Carl Michael Braun for his essay, Rebuilding Trust Among Citizens, a Transcommunication Platform. And the jury notes that this is an extremely well-written essay, strong structure of argumentation. It's based on sound knowledge of a contemporary issue and technological solution. And you share this sort of belief in rational dialogue with people like Jürgen Habermas and other great thinkers, contemporary thinkers on the topic. So well done. A huge applause from us in the jury. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then, next one.
Yes, it is very, very exciting. I need to... Always a little bit exciting here.
I'm doing this, by the way, on purpose to build the tension.
Exactly. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm clenched up now.
Fantastic. So the second prize goes to John Nyangena for her essay, The Pursuit of a More Equitable, Multilateral, and Collaborative Belt and Road Initiative. The jury notes about this essay that it's excellently written, strong structural argumentation, it's very timely and a critical topic of great social, political, and economic significance. Very strong analysis grounded in various types of observations and literature, and a very strong orientation towards finding solutions to a complex geopolitical issue. So well done, John, and thank you very much for all your efforts.
Thank you.
So, of course, process of elimination.
It's a process of elimination, yes, which allows us to come to the winner. And it is not a big surprise then that the first prize goes to Jans for his essay on trust and algorithmic driven. And that it deals with an incredibly complex problem. It also illustrates a profound knowledge of how algorithms work. And, you know, you apply computer science concepts to a very, very critical topic that actually affects all of us around the globe. So I think for all of us at the symposium, it is going to be very, very important to read this essay, engage with it, and think very carefully about the two solutions that you propose. So well done, Jans. This is just an outstanding achievement. Thank you.
Yeah, we should have had some virtual applause going in for all you guys, so at least you can hear it in your heads. And like I say,
Yes.
you know, algorithms, of course, are going to be more and more an issue of debate, as the professor has also said. I always say with AI, with artificial intelligence, it's still, unfortunately, not quite as strong as natural stupidity. So we still have a long way to go with that. But Professor Georg von Kroch, thank you very much for heading the jury every year and you know, doing a grand job with this. I just maybe I can get to our three finalists, and again, congratulations to all of you. Maybe get a kind of a wrap-up word from you. Perhaps, Michael, you can start and just give us your thoughts on basically where it goes for you from here, just briefly.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I mean, I am an inspiring teacher, so I plan to embark on my preparatory service in January, and to do these 18 months to become a real teacher, because I had so many ideas before I wanted to do this that I wanted to follow, and one of these ideas was this transcommunication platform. And yeah, I'm also considering a PhD in literature, and I have a personal passion for fantasy literature, and I would really like to pursue this more thoroughly.
Right, and Joan, your essay, of course, touches on a subject that isn't going away. Where do you see your work going from here?
I'm hoping that this is the starting point of some sort of open dialogue in order to find pertinent solutions to the issues that currently face the BRI. And so I think I would summarize it as we're in some sort of intersection point of, on one hand, the rise of China as a global power, but also on the other hand, the rise of an increasingly hostile anti-China environment post-COVID. And so with the approaches that I suggested in my essay, I'm hoping that that's a great starting point of the conversation in order to drive forward a more trustworthy, a more equitable and collaborative Belt and Road Initiative.
Wonderful, Joan. Thank you. And Jans, congratulations. Your thoughts on where it goes and what you're going to be doing next.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very honored. I think moving forward, very similar to what Joan has said, I think it's really just a starting point, and hope to be able to take part in this growing discussion into how we can improve the way that we use algorithms.
Wonderful. All three of you, thank you very much, and big congratulations. Professor Georg von Kroch, thank you very much for joining us. Again, it's a shame we can't be all here physically. I feel very alone and empty. It's like being back in a TV studio. But I do hope we get to meet at the symposium in the future as things get back to normal. I wish you all to stay very safe and be well. And I hope we get a chance to meet again, as I say. Thank you, all of you participants, for being there. And thanks to all the other essay entrants, because as I said, and as the professor reiterated, the standard is excellent. It makes the judging very, very difficult. And I always think of each one as a winner. I'm always looking forward each year to getting the essays to go through, and it is a tough job. So thanks to the jury, and of course to the symposium and the students who've put this wonderful event together. I hope we'll all be back physically next time. But I want to bid you all farewell. Stay safe, and see you soon, I hope.